Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Haofa Tourbillon 1913. This watch is available from haofatourbillon.com for $299. It's also available from Haofa Tourbillon official store on AliExpress for €342. And it's also available from Haofa store on Amazon.com for $299. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in a watch box which is protected by this Haofa Tourbillon gift bag, so very nice presentation, and the watch box is also protected by this outer cardboard box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and the watch box is protected by fabric, so I'll remove the watch box and show it to you. As you can see, very aesthetically pleasing, finished to a high standard. And I really like the presentation. Immediately one gets the impression that this is a high quality mid-tip piece. Stainless steel lock, as you can see, to the hinge lid with screws in it, so very well executed. The hinge lid is spring loaded, and as you can see the interior is finished with vinyl to a very high standard, and the watch sits on a padded pillow cushion in the base, as one would expect. With regards to the other items, one also gets this envelope, and inside we have a thank you card from Haofa Tourbillon. Thank you for the purchase. As you can see, it's in Mandarin. One also gets this very comprehensive owner's instruction manual, and it also details the terms and conditions of the international warranty. I'm pleased to report that the 1913 is covered by an impressive 3-year international warranty, and really that is unprecedented. Usually within the mid-tier, watches are covered by a 12-month or 24-month international warranty. To get a 3-year warranty at the mid-tier price point of €342 is very impressive. Clear, concise diagrams, high-definition pictures, and it's also bilingual in both English and Mandarin. One also gets this Haofa Tourbillon branded microfiber polishing cloth. And lastly, one also gets this plastic guarantee card to activate the 3-year international warranty. So very nice presentation and also very good accessories. With regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Haofa Tourbillon 1913. Haofa Tourbillon have been making watches in China since 1996, so they're a well-established brand, and as the name suggests, they specialise in making tourbillon watches. But they also make other styles of watches, including this 1913, which is one of their most popular selling pieces. So with regards to the specifications, we have a 44.8mm case diameter, we have a 52mm lug-to-lug measurement, we have a thickness of 11.5mm, and we have an exterior lug width of the integrated lugs of 28mm. The integrated rubber strap tapers from 28mm at the lugs down to the deployant clasp, as you can see. Now the exterior looks like a buckle and tang, and it does have a buckle, but rather than just using the conventional buckle and tang method, it's actually a spring-loaded deployant, which I'm very impressed with. The exterior buckle portion of the deployant is signed to a high standard with Haofa, as you can see. Nice heavy gauge to the 316L grade stainless steel buckle, brushed satin finish to the top side, underside and flanks, and we've also got a large screw rather than using the cross-cutting measure of a friction pin in the buckle. So it's spring loaded, and it makes a refreshing change from just using a 2-button push deployant or alternatively a buckle and tang. I've never seen this used on a watch before. It's got a stainless steel leaf spring which runs through the centre section of the deployant, and that means that it gives it a nice spring loaded action, both opening and closing it. It snaps shut with a nice positive click, and the other half of it also snaps shut. The spring-loaded resistance feels like it's magnetic. It's got that kind of magnetic feeling because the spring pulls both halves of the deployant together, and it's very well done because it doesn't pull apart easily, but however when one grips each half it folds out with a spring-loaded action with a nice positive click. So I really like this design, and it's something I haven't seen before. It's innovative, and Haofa Tourbillon deserve full credit for coming up with an original deployant design which is spring-loaded. It's got a very good spring-loaded action, really positive spring-loaded feeling to it on both halves. I like the way it snaps shut. So a better system than using a buckle and tang or just using a 2-button push deployant. The original deployant was invented by Cartier, and that was subsequently copied by many other brands, and you'll be familiar with the 2-button push deployant, which is used by many other brands as per the original Cartier design. But this spring-loaded design actually is better. I like it. With regards to the case back, it's an exhibition case back which is screwed down to the underside to the head of the piece with 6 screws, as you can see, and it's glazed with sapphire crystal. It does a good job of displaying the skeletonized movement and skeletonized rotor. Good to see sapphire crystal glazing rather than using the cost-cutting measure of mineral crystal as so many other brands use. So I like it. It does a good job of showing off the movement. With regards to the rest of the specification, we have a flat sapphire crystal which has clear AR coating on the underside, and the clear anti-reflective coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the matte skeletonized bridges to the movement, and also the mirror polished skeletonized hands. These skeletonized hands are partially lumed with C3 superluminova, and we don't have a dial. Effectively, the skeletonized bridges of the movement become the dial, but what we do have is a chapter ring which is fully indexed with 60-minute ticks, and it also has applied lume dots for indices at the hour marks. The Haofa Tourbillon brand emblem is at 12 o'clock, and because the movement is skeletonized, we don't have a dial, so there's no other text or specification on the bridges of the movement. And I really like it. They've done an excellent job of mirror polishing the bevels to the bridges of the movement. The quality of the finishing to these skeletonized bridges is very good. It's nice the way the bridges to the movement catch the light, and also the bevels, which are mirror polished on the edges of the skeletonized bridges. They catch the light very well with a metallic finish. They're silver, so it's very well done, and it's an absolute pleasure to look at the mainspring in the movement and also the balance wheel running at the 6 o'clock position. With regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished, and we have the Haofa Tourbillon brand emblem embossed, finished to a high standard. So it's a push-pull crown which provides an effective hermetic seal to 50 metres of water resistance, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece. In the closed position, one can manually wind the movement to its maximum 80-hour power reserve. Absolute pleasure to manually wind the mainspring. One can feel the tension gradually building up to its maximum 80-hour power reserve. Pulling it out to the first click position is the final click position because we don't have a date complication, and one can set the time. So it has hacking. As you can see, I've now stopped the balance wheel and the second hand stops dead, so one can set the time precisely to the second. It's got a nice firm resistance to the gearing, no back play whatsoever, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. It feels silky smooth. I like the feeling of it. It feels like a good tight solid movement. So pushing it back in restarts the movement, and that also reseals the push-pull crown and reinstates the 50-metre hermetic seal. So the push-pull crown is well executed. It feels silky smooth to manually wind. I like the feeling of the friction as one feels the tension in the mainspring building up. And I think 50 metres is perfectly acceptable. One doesn't need a screw-down crown on a daily wear piece. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now I really like this spring-loaded deployant. It's just very satisfying to use because it actually works very well. No chance of it coming undone accidentally, and there are 2 sliding keepers on the strap. Now, minor criticism. The rubber strap is a fraction too short for my 8-inch wrist, as you can see, but for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, this rubber strap will fit you no problem whatsoever, but I would need it to be an extra inch longer in order to engage the end of the rubber strap with the 2 keepers. So that's something to bear in mind if you're a collector with a larger wrist, for example, in excess of 8 inches. But really, for a 7 to 8-inch wrist, you'll find this rubber strap to fit you very well. So rather long lug-to-lug measurements of 52mm. The other thing to bear in mind is this what does wear with a lot of wrist presence because it's a large case, 44.8mm diameter, so just under 45. And really, I would say to you, this is best suited if you're a collector with a larger wrist of 7 to 8 inches. If you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you may find that this wears with too much wrist presence. Now, it's surprisingly comfortable to wear because it's very low profile. It's only 11.5mm thick. 11.5 is the kind of thickness I would expect to see on a quartz powered piece, or alternatively a manual wind piece. It's very low profile. And Haofa Tourbillon deserve full credit for getting the thickness down to only 11.5, bearing in mind that this is an automatic piece, not a quartz or manual wind piece. So although it does have wrist presence, it has surprisingly lack of heft. It's only 129 grams on the rubber strap, so it feels very well balanced. And they've made the correct decision with the proportions because the 28mm integrated rubber strap, which tapers well down to the deployance, means that the weight is distributed across the wide strap. The 28mm wide strap does balance the large head of the piece, which is 44.8, very well. So it's a wide piece and it's also a long piece, but it is very slender, very low profile, and it will easily slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts. Surprisingly comfortable piece to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day, due to the lack of heft. 129 grams is very comfortable, and also I like the fact it's 11.5mm thick, very slender. It reminds me very much visually to the Hublot Big Bang, which I previously reviewed. It's got that same kind of styling to it. The screwed down bezel with these 6 screws reminds me of Gerald Genter design, and it looks similar with the integrated rubber strap and the 2 screws to the Hublot Big Bang. So it's got that kind of feeling of wearing an Hublot Big Bang, but of course significantly less expensive at only €342. It's not in excess of €5,000. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it uses C3 superluminova. So high grade of superluminova, but however, the negative, as per all skeletonized watches, is with the absence of a dial. It doesn't allow for great Lume plots. We've simply got dots of Lume on the chapter ring rather than having applied indices on a dial, which is the convention. The other negative of skeletonized baton hands is they don't allow for large Lume plots either. There's not a large area for the C3 superluminova to be applied. I think the hands would be better looking and perform better in terms of legibility and also Lume performance. Rather than skeletonizing the baton hands, if they had fully loomed the hands, I think it would have made it easier to differentiate between the minute hand and the hour hand. And also, I think they could have enlarged the hour markers, the indices on the chapter ring, to allow for more Lume to be applied. The dots do work. One can clearly orientate the dial and one can clearly read the time. But however, larger indices would make this easier to read in the dark. And I think that if they'd fully loomed the hands and enlarged the size of the hour markers, the indices, that would have improved it. But having said that, it does work very well. You can see the C3 superluminova is glowing brightly and it will continue to glow for a good length of time. So I'm pleased that they haven't cut any corners with regards to the grade of C3 superluminova they're using. Right, so let's discuss the movement because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So this is powered by the Haofa caliber CAL 7H50. The 7H50 is based upon the Hangzhou caliber 7520. The 7520 is reliable, well-proven workhorse skeletonized movement. It runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has 21 joules and a very impressive 80-hour power reserve. The 80-hour power reserve is the thing that I really like about this movement. It's very impressive to get 80 hours of power reserve, bearing in mind that this is a mid-tier piece, it's not a high-tier piece. And I really like that aspect of it. It's over 3 days of power reserve, which is very impressive. So the Hangzhou caliber 7520 is a reliable, well-proven movement, and Haofa Tourbillon, they finish the movement to a higher standard. So what they do is they polish the bridges to the movement, they bevel the edges to the bridges, and they mirror polish the bevels to a higher standard. So effectively it's a higher grade of Hangzhou caliber 7520. It's finished to a higher standard than the standard that they make. And I think it's the correct choice because it's reliable, it's well proven, 80-hour power reserve is very good, and the advantage of it is it's a very slim and low profile movement, which means that this piece can be reduced to only 11.5mm, even though it's got sapphire crystal in the front and a screwed down exhibition case back, which is also glazed with sapphire crystal. It's a very thin piece. 11.5mm really is very impressive, bearing in mind that it is an automatic with a rotor rather than being a quartz or manual wind piece. So very impressive movement making capability and also very impressive case making capability from Haofa. So although they're using a Hangzhou caliber 7520, they are finishing it to a good standard, and I think it really is the correct choice to get the thickness down to only 11.5, and the quality of the finishing to the bezel, the head of the piece, and also the mirror polished screw down exhibition case back is all very good. Right, so lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. €342 is the price point of this piece. It is a mid-tier piece. But yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value. The quality of the finishing to this piece is very similar to the quality of the finishing to the Hublot Big Bang, which costs in excess of €5,000. And it really is a credit to Haofa Tourbillon that they are finishing the bezel, the head of the piece and the screw down case back to that kind of high tier level finishing. The mirror polishing is some of the best I've seen. The brush satin finishing is some of the best I've seen. It really is incredible. No sharp edges, no burrs, and there's a beautiful luster to both the brush satin finishing and also the mirror polishing. It's just incredible. It really is very high grade, and this is the kind of finishing one would expect to see on a high tier piece, not a mid tier piece. Now, the other thing I've discussed, which I really like, is the innovative deployant. As you can see, it doesn't just have a buckle and tang. What we have are two halves of the spring-loaded deployant, as you can see. And again, the quality of the finishing, you just look at the luster of the 316 Earl Grade stainless steel, absolutely flawless brush satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks. And it really is a credit to Haofa Tourbillon, because they haven't cut any corners with regards to the finishing. If you look at this, even on the underside, which is a side you don't look at, the brush satin finishing is absolutely flawless. No sharp edges, no burrs, and the grained finish to it is just incredible. I would describe this as equal quality in terms of the finishing to the Hublot Big Bang, which I previously reviewed, and really there's no difference, no discernible difference in the quality of the finishing to the head of the piece, and it does have a very similar look to the Hublot Big Bang with the screwed down bezel and also the two screws in the integrated rubber strap. The quality of the integrated rubber strap is also very high grade. This isn't made from inexpensive silicon rubber as per many Chinese straps. It feels more like FKM or Floraline, and it's got that vulcanized rubber feel to it, so it feels stiff and it's going to be durable and last for a good length of time. So they really haven't cut any corners anywhere with regards to the specification. Even in the deployance, in the buckle, we've got a screw rather than using a friction pin. So they haven't made any cost-cutting measures. They didn't glaze the exhibition case back with mineral crystal, for example. Everything about this watch is done to a very high standard. So yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value. I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Haofa Tourbillon 1913. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.